Hello everyone, this is Lien and welcome back to the Rachelle Anne Miller YouTube channel. Today I have a fall themed Happy Mail card to share with you using the amazing Autumn Friends from Rachelle Anne Miller. This is an adorable digital stamp where you get this amazing sentiment included. You can also leave it off when printing it if you only want the image and then combine it with a sentiment of your choice. I decided to leave it in because I love the script, the two scripts actually, and I love just the saying grateful for you, for friends like you. Now I am going to color this image using my Copic markers, and normally I am not really creating a ton of fall themed cards. I don't know why necessarily, but I most of the time try to make birthday cards, Christmas cards, and a few Happy Meal cards. And well, I tend to limit the Happy Meal cards just because I'm always liking both other cards. And so I think that's why I normally don't really make a ton of fall themed cards specifically. Now in this case, and this year actually, I came across a few Copic marker combinations that I really fell in love with, and I'm enjoying creating these fall themed cards with these warm colors or combinations that I'm using. Now, in case you want to revisit Copic combinations that I'm using today, you can find them in the description box here, and you can also find them on my blog post. So that's really easy for reference in case you're not writing it down as we go over the coloring here. Now, for the pile of leaves, I actually had no clue what I was going to do. So I first started with the leaves themselves, and then I decided to try to find a yellowish kind of color combination, softer than the leaves that I already used. Now, I first was happy, and then I thought, well, it's just a bit too light, and so I kept adding markers until I was some sort of happy with what I have created. But for me personally, filling up a bigger area like this that is creating some sort of the background is really difficult. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. There is also this a method where you can add dots like all over, and it's really cool, and there are some of the design team members who are really advanced in that, and I just am always amazed by what I'm seeing. I tried it once, limited of course, just a small area, adding all these dots, and I really had a ton of fun with it. But here, as I said, I had no clue what I was going to do with this big area, so I just kept adding, created some shadows here and there, and it was all building up really organically actually. That's most of the time what I'm doing when I have no clue, but it always ends up like something, so I'm really glad with how it ended up eventually here as well. Something else, what I wanted to address here was that I think this image was released last month. This month there were several releases so far. I'm really enjoying all of the releases. If you want to have more inspiration, definitely follow the design team members on social media. There is a Facebook group where you can share your creations, where the design team is sharing their creations on Facebook, on Instagram. So definitely check it all out. I am adding links every time in the description box towards that Facebook group, towards the Instagram, if I'm not mistaken, by Rachelle Anne Miller, so that you can easily find all of the inspiration that is out there. And I hope that you will join us in maybe the Facebook group and share your amazing creations with us, because it's always so much fun to see. Also, something else is that there is always a challenge going on in the Facebook group, where you can actually win some digital stamps, which is really great. So there is like a theme. Well, it's optional of course, and it's really a ton of fun. And there is always a random winner, and then a winner chosen by the design team. So yeah, if you want to have some fun, definitely check that out. It's really always so inspiring and so much fun to create. So here, after a pile of leaves where I had no clue what to do, I am continuing with the other parts where I am a little bit less confident about, like the skin tone, like the hair color, um, and so on. Now I really love creating clean and simple cards, and we have tons of details in the Rachelle Anne Miller illustrations. Now, another way for me, whenever I am in a situation where I have kind of a lot of details, I'm trying to reuse combinations. So this is the same rusty kind of color that I also used on some of the leaves. And that is actually how I tend to keep it clean and simple. There is a lot of things returning, they're all matching with each other. It's also a way to make sure that everything is going to match with each other. You can go rainbow all the way. That's a ton of fun, and I love a good rainbow card. But if you're sometimes unsure about which colors go with what, then maybe if you just stick to the colors that you already have used in your coloring, then you can see that reusing colors actually makes it so much simpler for you as well. So tons of browns here, a really warm vibed card. I'm going to leave the surroundings on this card white and then take a pattern paper that will match with the colors that I used while coloring the images. So that's how I kept it kind of clean and simple as well. Now for the hair, whenever I have to people here, I tend to try to have different hair colors just to let both of them stand out. So here I went for a softer or lighter look than the other one. Also for the hair, I'm trying to do some flicking here to give it a bit of texture. The more vertical you hold your marker, the thinner the stripes will be that you're adding, so the more realistic it can look. But it's not always easy, so I'm just saying it in case you were wondering. But if you hold your marker flat, then you also have a larger impression. Just if you don't know this, then maybe just test it out while I'm just talking about it, and you will see that there is such a big difference. I don't have any thin nips on my markers. It would be great, but I don't have them, and yet I am able to, if I take the time to hold my pen really straight, to get these lines, the texture in the hair. So whenever I go outside the lines, as always, I'm using my colorless blender. It's a great marker to have with any alcohol markers you have. I'm sure that there is a colorless blender or something similar like that that can help you push back the colors whenever you went outside the lines or you did something that you don't like, to sort of get rid of that or soften it so that you can cover it up. So here for the dog, I'm also using some markers that I already used. The only thing that I try to keep in mind whenever I am reusing colors to keep it simple is that I'm trying to not have the same colors next to each other, which is not always easy depending on how all of the critters, the images are positioned. But I'm trying, and here with the dog, same thing. That brown, there are tons of markers returning, so if you're looking at the description box or on the blog post, you will see that there are actually a lot of similarities in between the different combinations used here. Another combination that I really love is this green, well, this is not a really bright in-your-face green, but I truly adore it. It's BG 96, yellow green 97, and yellow green 95. And it's really soft, quite dark, but still a soft green, and I really love it for that. Now here on the head, tons of details, as you can see. Also, I'm trying to avoid going inside of those details, all of the dots. Now, of course, you can also just color and use your white jelly roll pen or a colorless blender to push back the color or to get that white back again. You also don't need to leave them white. You can definitely go over those dots and just have them green as well, or with whatever color you're using. But as you can see here, I lost a bit of my patience. Plus, it was really hard to get the blend right when I wasn't trying to overlap with those dots. So here I forgot the leaf. Well, sometimes you just do, and then you need to return. So I took one of the combinations that I already used for the leaves and just had fun with that. Now the scarf, I'm using some yellows here, and I'm going to just have stripe white, yellow, and so on. Really subtle in my opinion. I love all of the details that Rachelle is adding to her images. It's something that I wouldn't necessarily do when I'm coloring, because on other stamps that you might have a scarf without any details, and it's up to you to add those if you want to. But am I always afraid? I don't know, but I barely add them myself. So I'm always really happy when Rachelle already thought that out for me. So here, as I said, I actually wanted to have yellow, white, but then I thought maybe I can add a really light yellow to represent white, but still give it a bit of something, you know. You don't need to, but you can. And then since I used the green on the head already, I decided to use the same yellow from the scarf here on the shirt of the other one. So everything really is matching. And I think that's what it's around this time that I realized that my pile of leaves was a bit too yellowish, because there wasn't a lot of difference between the shirts and the pile in my opinion, although it was a completely different combination. So maybe that's why I changed it up later on. I don't know really, but I'm glad that I did. I also like it this way, but I must admit that I prefer my end result from my coloring. So also for the bird, I reused some combinations that I already used. And then for the leaves, I went with a really deep red color to also go with those rusty kind of leaves, and then all the brown. So I didn't want it to be too bright because all of the colors were kind of muted on my card itself or on the rest of the image. So as I said, I'm just going to fix those dots by going over them with my white jelly roll pen, which is definitely as good as trying to avoid them. I just think avoiding them constantly is really hard, especially for the blend. So the flower, I wanted it to appear white, but again, as with the scarf, I also added a bit of color to just reinforce it a bit. And then here it was time to add a bit more or a bit darker colors. Not everywhere, I didn't went overboard, but I just needed a bit more. I also think that instead of doing this, adding those dots as I talked about with your markers on this pile could have added some fun textures as well, but that's all up to you, of course. I scribbled a bit of my darker markers here and there and went over it, blended it out until I was happy, but it became a bit more brownish, this pile of leaves. And it doesn't have to be perfect because there are tons of leaves in this pile. So actually, the more rustic you can keep it, I think it's really a strength in the coloring of this image. And then once I'm happy with coloring here, I'm going to zoom out and continue with the card. Therefore, I'm going to use the Blueprints 27 from My Favorite Things. It's one of my favorite dies whenever I'm keeping like the background white, because it gives you the opportunity to add a bit of color around the border that is quite detailed with that scalloped edge and the stitching details. So I'm just going to die cut it, making sure that I'm first putting it straight here. I'm keeping it in place while die cutting it using some purple tape. And then I took this pattern paper Gingham Galore Fall from Honeybee Stamps. Only the name itself already says that I'm going to be able to match it with the colors that I used. And there are several papers that I really love in combination with my card, so I can recreate this card and just change up the pattern paper and have another end result. But I went for this really warm yellowish orangey kind of color. I added it to my card base and then I trimmed off the excess. That's how I tend to add papers, because I'm really bad at trimming things exactly to size. So whenever I can, I just put it immediately on my card base, also with color paper, and then I can perfectly trim off the excess and have my complete card base filled with the pattern or with the colored cardstock. And then I'm going to add the image on top of my card base as well, so the panel. You can do that with some foam adhesive if you want to. You can also adhere it straight, use some liquid glue. I tend to use an adhesive roller whenever I'm adding it straight on top of it, because it's not liquid, and sometimes with liquid glue, and I don't know what is the reason necessarily, but sometimes it can like come through the paper, not that it's sticking on top of the paper, but it's just, you can see the lines maybe that you drew. I got it in the past, and that's why I'm always avoiding using liquid glue straight on the back of my panel. So just some adhesive roller here, lining it up, and then I'm pressing it down. So now you can start embellishing if you want to. Since there were already all these leaves around, I didn't want to add really a ton of embellishments. So I went for some stickles here on the hat to just give it a bit of glitter here and there. But I'm not adding too much either. This is a really simple card with tons of details in the image itself. I had tons of fun coloring this image, and then here I'm just adding a few glossy accents, mostly on the hearts but also on the nose of the dog. I think that's really cute. And then my card is completely finished. So this is my card for today. I hope that I could inspire you today with this Happy Meal card in fall themed colors. I truly had a lot of fun. I hope that if you get this digital stamp that you will have a lot of fun as well. Let us know what you created on Facebook, on Instagram. We would love to see it. I want to thank you all for stopping by and taking the time to watch this video, and I'll be back soon with some new crafty inspiration. Bye!